Many companies are currently in the throes of change, some of it enforced, some of it by choice. One of the things that here at Cranfield that we've noticed is that there's a period in between structural change and the effect that people in the organisation have in terms of re-engaging, performance dips, picking up again. Now, Graham Clark, you've been doing some work with clients looking at change programmes. What have you found?
Well, I think one of the things which we've noticed is that people pay a lot of attention to the structural changes. Who's going to go where, or who's going to be leaving the organisation. But the thing which really makes the difference for organisations is, do the people really connect with what are we about now? So what we often hear on the sort of negative side is employers saying, well, I knew what we were about before the change, but I'm not quite sure what we're about now. There's a sort of lostness reported by many employees in the process of change, even though the changes make sense.
And what effect does this have on the organisation? I mean, I'm tempted to say, well, get over it, people will eventually catch up.
Well, I think that, not surprisingly, if people are not on their best game, then they're really not going to provide the best performance, and they're not really going to implement the change. And I think the sort of received wisdom about change is often that it doesn't deliver what was expected, that people leave, that people are disenfranchised, all kinds of things happen in the aftermath of change. You know, the old adage that so often we declare victory too soon is absolutely true around change.
So one of the things that we need to do, I guess, is to say, if you're a manager in this situation, so what do I do about this?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely key. So we do some of the structural stuff, as you rightly said, and we thought through maybe even what are the new job roles, but we need to provide some kind of space for people to talk about what are they feeling in the process of change. And so the emotional life of the organisation is often undernourished in the process of change. And I think part of the fear for some managers is that if we open this sort of Pandora's box of emotions, that all we're going to get is negative stuff and no positive stuff. And I think some managers are very fearful about that. So what we really need to do is to provide a period, at least, where the role of the leader of change is to provide that sort of safe area where that people can really report how they are feeling, and then for the leader to work with both the positive and the negative emotions in the process of this transition.
I think if I were on the receiving end and I was saying, I need to go and see my boss about this, I'd be saying, will they perceive me as being negative? Will they perceive me as being against change? Is that something that would likely to happen, and what do we do about that?
I think that's a very predictable and understandable response. I think it takes a degree of honesty on the part of the leader. So it's not for the leader to say, so how are you feeling about this? Trust me. That's not going to bring about the right response. All it will bring about is that sort of fairly mediocre, well, it's not really going anywhere kind of response. But what we need is for the leaders to begin to provide some kind of modelling around, okay, I understand that not all of this is absolutely fun for you, and I've picked up some of these things, and that begins to start the conversation.
So open up the process and allow people to say what they really feel as opposed to what they maybe think they should be saying.
I think that's one thing, and I think another one is very much about providing a degree of challenge even after the change. So creating enough tension, not always making it nice, because I think if we make it nice and safe again too soon, then some of this negative stuff will just get repressed and we'll end up with it coming back to bite us at a later stage.
So be prepared to listen, but also put some challenge in there, some stimulus to get things moving again.
Absolutely right. I think some leaders in the process of change really want to get back too quickly to an even keel in order to prove in some ways that they have managed change. But I think that this is a very dangerous strategy, and wise leaders of change will keep it a little bit edgy for rather longer than it feels comfortable, in order to make sure that that enough has been debated and discussed. There's been enough airtime for the negative emotions, which sometimes provide the kind of challenge which say, oh, actually, we're a little bit off course here. So let's hear some of that stuff. It may save us in the longer term.
Graham, there's some sensible and realistic things to say about change, and thank you for reminding us of those.